أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين بارئ الخلائق أجمعين باعث الأنبياء والمرسلين، ثم الصلاة والسلام على أشرف الخلق وأعز المرسلين حبيب إله العالمين أبي القاسم المصطفى محمد وعلى آل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المنتجبين، سيما بقية الله روحه وأرواح العالمين له الفداء. قال الله الحكيم في محكم كتابه الكريم: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل إنما أنا بشر مثلكم يوحى إلي أنما إلهكم إله واحد، فمن كان يرجو لقاء ربه فليعمل عملا صالحا ولا يشرك بعبادة ربه أحدا. آمنا بالله. صدق الله العلي العظيم. اللهم صل على عظم الله أجورنا وأجوركم بمصابنا بأبي عبد الله الحسين عليه السلام. Mu'mineen and mu'minat, brothers and sisters, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Condolences on the martyrdom anniversary of Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his family members and companions. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the opportunity to learn from the sacrifices of the Imam, from his life and his martyrdom, and from his companions, from his family members and companions, and follow, inshallah, in our life, follow them, follow in their footsteps to gain the highest levels, as we are told in the hadith from Imam Sadiq alayhi salam to say, we wish we were with you, not like those who were hypocrites saying it to the Prophet and the companions of the Prophet who went out and fought and sacrificed their lives. And these people had the chance to go with them, but they did not, and they said, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum. The Imam says, if you really want to be with them, genuinely say that and pray to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that you are with them. Ya laytana kunna ma'akum fanafuza fawzan azima. Then we will have the great victory. To be with the Imam is a great victory. To be with the Imam of our time is a great victory. To be accepted by the Imam as a companion, as a helper, as a supporter, as a soldier, to be accepted by him is a great victory. The Imam says to some, though he was inviting people, but when they came he had to accept them, and he actually tested them, and we'll speak about the test on the night of Ashura that he put his companions through. He tested them and made sure that whoever stays is sincere. And when one was willing to give, I shared the example of Al-Hurr al-Juhfi that was willing to give his sword and his horse, the Imam said, I won't use your wealth when you're not willing to sacrifice for the sake of God. I don't need your wealth. And then he recited, مَا كُنْتُ مُتَّخِذَ الْمُضِلِّينَ عَضُدًا. I would not use the ones who are astray, the ones who are on the wrong path themselves. I would not use them as helpers. So in order for us to be with the Imam, we have to be on the right path. We have to fulfill certain conditions. And that is the real journey to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We began from the beginning of the month a discussion on a journey to God, a conscious journey to God, because we're all traveling to God. We're all returning to God, whether we like it or not. If we're conscious about it, then we prepare for the journey, and therefore we get the best places. In the hereafter, we don't get an average place, or God forbid, we don't end up in the wrath of God or in the eternal regret or the hellfire. Rather, we get some good places, and the more conscious we are of that journey, the better our places would be. The more we prepare for there, the higher we would be in terms of our proximity, not physical, rather spiritual proximity to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the Imam is a path to God. Karbala and the remembrance of the Imam and what happened on Ashura and these gatherings are all a station on the path to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. The goal is that we want to be with the Imam of our time. That should be the goal. It should be everyone's goal, that I want to be with the Imam of my time. That should be a conscious decision that we make. That should be something on our mind all the time. Am I with the Imam of my time or not? Because we speak, especially when we gather in Muharram, we speak of individuals who ended up with the Imam and they sacrificed the best. بَذَلُوا مُهَجَهُمْ, we read in the dua, الَّذِينَ بَذَلُوا مُهَجَهُمْ دُونَ الْحُسَيْنِ عَلَيْهِ السَّلَامِ. They gave the blood of, in fact, the end part of Ziyarat Ashura is in that position where we go to sujood and ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us steadfast with them. Allahumma laka alhamdu hamda shakirina laka ala musabihim, alhamdulillah ala azimi raziyati. Allahumma rzuqni shafa'at al-Husayn yawm al-wurud. Oh God, grant me the intercession of Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the day of judgment. وَثَبِّتْ لِي قَدَمَ صِدْقٍ. Make my feet the right path without slipping and falling. Make me steadfast with who? مع الحسين وأصحاب الحسين. Amazing. أصحاب الحسين. With Imam Hussein alayhi salam and his companions. Who الذين بذلوا مهجهم دون الحسين عليه السلام. They were willing to give the blood of their hearts. Al-muhja damul qalb. The muhja is referring to the blood of the heart. In other words, they're the best of what they have. Their own life. They were willing to sacrifice it for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. We want to be with the Imam of our time like they were, and not to be like the cursed ones as we recite in the ziyarah. There were some who stood against him, some who fought against him, some who prepared to fight against him. أسرجت وألجمت وتهيأت وتنقبت. Anything that they did in preparation for the army, whether they actually fought or not, we say God's curse is on those. They are the furthest from the mercy of God to have ended there. What about those who did not help? We say وَلَعَنَ اللَّهُ أُمَّةً سَمِعَتْ بِذَلِكَ فَرَضِيَتْ بِهِ. They heard that this is happening, they were okay. They didn't do anything, they didn't change anything. So we want to be with the Imam of our time, and not, God forbid, amongst those who we often curse in the, and we have to be clear on this. When we say la'na, it is not slandering. We have in Arabic a term called sab. Sab and la'an are different. Imam Ali alayhi salam, he says to his companions, I don't want you to be often slandering, sabbabin. Inni akrahu an takunu sabbabin. I don't like it for you to use foul language. So why do we say la'an? La'an is not foul language. La'an is a prayer, dua. There is a dua for someone and there's dua against somebody. Sometimes you're saying, oh God, have mercy on him, rahimallah. Yeah? Oh God, remove your mercy of him, la'an Allah. And there are different levels of that la'an. Why would you pray for God's mercy to be removed? It is two-sided. One is the fact that we are confirming that that's the case. That's part of what we call bara'ah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells the believers in the Holy Quran in a chapter that is also named bara'ah, mistakenly named tawbah. There is no tawbah in it. That chapter is exposing the hypocrites. It is not tawbah. Surah At-Tawbah is wrongly given to that surah. It is not named by the Prophet or Ahlul Bayt Tawbah. They refer to it, Ahlul Bayt refer to it as bara'ah. Bara'ah, why? Because it starts with dissociation. Bara'atun min Allah. God dissociates and wants the believer to disassociate themselves with all the evil people, all the bad people. You see somebody who fights the Imam of his time, I don't want anything to do with him. La'natullah alayh. That's what it means. Somebody who is willing to fight the Imam of his time, la'natullah alayh. Meaning what? I confirm that he is far from the mercy of God and I dissociate with him. That is what la'an means. So when we use it, don't look at it as the translations often go. In fact, I was looking at some of the translations. Oftentimes they have the wrong words or meanings of it. So if curse in English means realization and praying for the removal of the mercy of God, that is la'an. If not, then that's a different term. Maybe we should just use la'an for the sake of clarification. In any case, we have people who were with the Imam and we want to be like them, with the Imam of our time. We have people who were against the Imam or did not help the Imam. In that sense, there is a statement that some say, and in fact a particular president used this statement, you're either with us or against us. When it comes to Ahlul Bayt, this statement is correct. When it comes to God and those with God, the Prophet and those who are the successors of the Prophet, this statement is correct. You're either with them or you're against them. You cannot say, I stay in the middle. In fact, Imam Ali alayhi salam confirmed that in a response he gave to an individual named as Al-Hasan al-Basri. Unfortunately, some Muslims consider him to be a teacher of akhlaq and a highly spiritual individual. He missed out. And the Imam called him Samiri hadhihi al-ummah, because he deceived the people, telling them, I'm confused myself. If you're a scholar of religion, you have to realize that there is truth and falsehood. You cannot sit and say, I don't know. On this side I see Talha and Zubayr and the wife of the Prophet Aisha, and on this side I see Ali ibn Abi Talib. I don't know what to do. I'm going to stay neutral. That neutral position means against the Imam. That's what it meant. You cannot be neutral in the school of Ahlul Bayt. You're either with God or you have stood with the enemy of God, somehow supported the enemy. Lack of support of the friends of God is support of the enemy of God. We need to be first cognizant of this fact. We need to be consciously trying and testing ourselves, testing our faith, testing our direction in life, making sure that we are amongst those who are traveling to God consciously, amongst those who are with God and His friends, with the Prophet and with the Imam of our time, Ajjalallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif. We need to make sure that that's the case. Last night, or the couple of nights, the previous nights, I spoke about one of the conditions to be with the Imam of our time, as Imam Hussein alayhi salam stated in his famous statement when he said, خُطَّ الْمَوْتَ عَلَى ibn Adam, to the rest, until he says, whoever is willing to give مَنْ كَانَ فِينَا بَادِلًا مُهْجَةً, whoever is willing to give the blood of their heart for us, for the sake of God, for the sake of the messenger of God, for the sake of the religion, for the sake of goodness, for the sake of humanity. It is not a narrow thing, it's not a small thing. You need to understand. Many people across the world fought for freedom, fought for justice, fought for goodness. They are, in fact, if they died for that cause and that was their sincere intention, they are with the Imam of the time. They may not know the name. It doesn't go by name and labels. Let me be clear on this. Many of us know the name and the lineage of the Imam, and we can go from the Imam to his grandfather Rasulullah and maybe even further. But when it comes to actually serving the Imam, we're not doing much or anything. And there are some who don't know him by name, but they're serving him, serving his cause. That is what matters. مَنْ كَانَ فِينَا بَعْدِلًا مُهْجَةً. And we said we need to detach from dunya in order to be able to be with the Imam, be on that journey to God. Last example I want to give, there are stages, and I mentioned that there are stages. Some detach and they still have an attachment, meaning what? They're still making the effort of detachment. I want it badly, but I'm not going to have it because I want to detach. Okay, so it's still there. Some, and again, I don't want to elaborate on those stations because I personally am working on it. So I'm going to give highlights and we'll leave it there. The next level is where some have detached without struggle, but they're stuck in being pleased with their detachment. This is very tricky. They're detached and they don't struggle. They detach for the sake of God. They don't look at sins as something tempting. They see sins ugly. They see haram money as ugly. They cannot even look at it. It repels them. It's repelling. It's disturbing to them. They've gotten there, but now they're pleased with their station, with their position, so they're attached to their detachment. They're attached to their zuhd. They have one more level to go. We're not even there yet, or I speak for myself. And those who have detached to the point that they don't see that they've done anything, because they see what is with God, and therefore they don't see that they have detached or done anything in that regard. An example one of our great scholars and teachers of akhlaq gives, he says, imagine yourself going to the court of a king. You want to see the king. And let's look at a king as a good king, because now the example is to speak of the King of Kings. You're going to the court of a king. You really want to meet the king. You want to be close with the king, to the king. You want to talk to him, sit with him. You really want that. And as you come to his court, the door is open, but there is a dog there, sitting there, not allowing anyone in. You had some sandwich in your hand or some food in your hand that you wanted to eat for yourself. You wanted that food. But you see the dog and you think, if I throw this sandwich to the dog, he'll be distracted and I'll go and meet the king. How important is that sandwich in that situation? You're going to meet the king. Sandwich is nothing. That teacher of akhlaq, he says, this is the example of dunya. You are traveling to God, the king. Dog is shaitan. Give him dunya, keep him busy with it, that sandwich, throw it, and go meet your Lord. How worthy would that sandwich be? That is literally how those who reach that status, they see dunya. Inshallah, we get there. Tonight, I want us to focus on the other part of the statement of the Imam. When he says, مُوَطِّنًا إِلَى لِقَاءِ اللَّهِ نَفْسَهُ or عَلَى لِقَاءِ اللَّهِ نَفْسَهُ. مُوَطِّنًا عَلَى لِقَاءِ اللَّهِ. He got to the point that his nafs is pleased, is in comfort, is living, basically finds home where? Liqa'ullah. In the meeting with the Lord, with God. That's home. Home is no longer Florida. Home is no longer Orlando. Home is no longer any other city in this world, or even the moon for that sake. None of these things are the target or the dream home. The dream home is not a house with a pool, with a playroom and so on. The dream home is a home with the Lord. مُوَطِّنًا عَلَى لِقَاءِ اللَّهِ. His watan is liqa'ullah. I began with the ayah from Surah Al-Kahf, the last ayah of Surah Al-Kahf, the 18th chapter of the Holy Quran. The last ayah, which is in fact suggested that those who want to wake up for prayers, for morning prayers or for even tahajjud, provided that they are abstaining from sins and praying their daily prayers, that works as an alarm clock for them. You recite that ayah before you sleep and intend the hour or the minute that you want to wake up. It's like God puts an angel in charge of this situation. He'll wake you up. قُلْ إِنَّمَا أَنَا بَشَرٌ مِثْلُكُمْ to the end of the ayah. فَمَنْ كَانَ, whoever amongst you, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says يَرْجُو لِقَاءَ رَبِّهِ. Raja, to have hope, to desire, to want something. Whoever has hope and desires and wants the meeting with their Lord, فَلْيَعْمَلْ عَمَلًا صَالِحًا. Let them do righteous deeds and don't ascribe partners for God. وَلَا يُشْرِكْ بِعِبَادَةِ رَبِّهِ أَحَدًا. We'll speak about this briefly. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran gives us describes two groups of people. Some yarju liqa'a rabbih, some hope and wish and desire, they know that they're going to meet their Lord, and some they don't. Some they deny it. Those who deny it, he calls them kafirun, non-believers. They deny the meeting with their Lord. Those who do not have hopes in it, he says regarding those that they are on the wrong path, they're astray. Those who have hope in it, He calls them the believers. Those who really want it, He calls them the ones with certainty. There are ayat, I don't want to take your time, ayat that describe the different groups with regarding to the meeting with the Lord. And He describes that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wants us to be eager to meet Him. He wants us to want the meeting with Him. He loves us. He wants us to love Him back. Subhanallah. How in the dua Imam Zain al-Abidin alayhi salam, he says beautifully, he says, how foolish am I? In the words of those who are sinners, those who God, وَتَتَحَبَّبُ إِلَيَّ فَأَتَبَغَّضُ إِلَيْكَ. You're trying to make me love you, and I do the things that make you detest me. The sins and all the acts of neglect and ignorance. You're trying to تَتَحَبَّبُ إِلَيَّ. God wants us to love Him. He does the things for us to love Him. He says to Musa ala nabina wa alayhi salam, حَبِّبْ خَلْقِي إِلَيْهِ. Make people love me. In a hadith Qudsi. That He says, how? He says, remind them of my gifts to them. Remind them of how generous I am to them, how kind I am to them. Quran often reminds us, God in the Quran, He reminds us of all the things that He did for us and how He made the universe for us and how He made so many things in control, or to be possible for us to control. وَسَخَّرَ لَكُمْ. Subdued them for you, made them for you, created them for you. All of these things He does so that what? So that you and I love Him back. He loves us. He wants us to have that special relationship with Him. Like, and I give often this example, like the newly lovers. Newly, unless they're godly lovers, it lasts. Otherwise, when it's material love, worldly love, it doesn't last. This engagement period love and so on, it will last if it's godly. Whatever you connect with God becomes everlasting. But when you just focus on worldly things, appearance, it'll go away. It'll become usual. You see it beautiful the first few days, months, maybe. Then it becomes a normal sight. Even the most beautiful sights. If you buy the most beautiful houses, mansions, after a few weeks, you get so used to it that it becomes a usual sight. It doesn't impress you anymore. In fact, your neighbor's house impresses you. That's what often they say, the grass is greener on the other side. Because you look at theirs and you're impressed. It's a new sight. Yours may be worth more, it doesn't matter. Whatever is connected. Now, if you love that, if you've experienced that love, that new lovers, engaged, newlyweds, if you've experienced that love, then you're capable of understanding the love that God wants for you, and that is the meaning, ذِكْرًا كَثِيرًا. ذِكْرًا كَثِيرًا. سبحوه بكرة وأصيلا. Tasbih has its times, but dhikr, a lot. Always in remembrance. Always in remembrance of God. How? Just like when a lover cannot get their beloved out of their mind. They say it in songs and poems and different languages, that you're always on my mind, I even miss you when you're with me, and all those sorts of loving, kind poetry and loving words. That is only genuine, and it's the only thing that actually deserves that kind of love is that love with God. the only one or only thing. That is what it is. Every other love, if it's worldly, it's not going to last. Yes, if you love your spouse for the sake of God, it's going to last, and you can make it that kind of love. If you love your children for the sake of God, He has put innate love within us for the children. But even that has certain level of conditions. There's one unconditional love that exists for us, and that is from God. If we recognize that, we love Him back. This is the constant remembrance, dhikr. And that should be our goal. If we get there, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says that those who claim that they are friends of God, what should they do? We recite that in Surah Al-Jumu'ah. قُلْ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ هَادُوا إِنْ زَعَمْتُمْ أَنَّكُمْ أَوْلِيَاءُ لِلَّهِ. If you claim you're friends of God, you're lovers with God, what should they do? فَتَمَنَّوُا الْمَوْتَ. Wish for death. Why? Because death is liqa'ullah. No longer trapped in this physical body and its limitations. Now you're closer to God. This is why Imam Ali alayhi salam, when he struck, one of the brothers gave a good example. Another person is struck, he says, oh, my stomach is hurting me. Imam Ali alayhi salam struck on his head. What does he say? Fuztu wa rabbil Kaaba. I am victorious by the Lord of the Kaaba. Why? He is waiting for it. He's been waiting for it. He shed tears in front of Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. He was shedding tears. Ya Rasulullah, I want martyrdom badly. Meeting my Lord when He's pleased with me. I want that. And the Prophet promised him that it is coming for you, Ya Ali. And he says to him that your beard will be dyed with the blood of your head. That is what is going to happen. And so when he was struck, he went to a battle after battle, fought with the oppressors, the non-believers, with all sorts of hypocrites. Everywhere he could, he went out. Obviously he wouldn't commit suicide, but he went out in the front line, no fear whatsoever, waiting for a day that he is struck. And nobody could strike Ali alayhi salam except when he is in salat. So he comes, the mal'oon, he comes from behind and strikes the imam. The immediate thing is, Fustu wa rabbil Kaaba. Now I'm victorious by the Lord of the Kaaba. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad. This is the one who is prepared. On the other hand, there are some قَدْ خَسَرَ الَّذِينَ كَذَّبُوا بِلِقَاءِ اللَّهِ. They deny, they are losers. He is فُزْتُ وَرَبِّ الْكَعْبَةِ. I am victorious. He's been preparing for it. He's waiting for it. But those who deny it, they are the losers. If we do not get ourselves there, not only would we not be, and this is why the Imams of Ahlul Bayt want us with them. Imam Hussein alayhi salam was calling on the day of Ashura everybody, and that's why he said to those who were not willing to help him to go far, so they don't hear his call for help. He says, if you hear my call for help and you don't respond, it's a big curse on you. Go far that you don't hear it. But why is he calling? Because he's desperate. He knows that he is going to be he is going to reach the highest level of victory. Al-Fawz al-Azim, that you and I often say, Ya laytana kunna ma'akum, so what? لِنَفُوزَ فَوْزًا عَظِيمًا. He reaches that, he's going to reach that. Why does he need help? He needs you to help you. He wants you to help yourself. By joining the Imam, you're helping yourself. If we don't, the caring, loving Prophet and his family, his progeny, salawatullah wa salamu alayhim ajma'in, they're so upset for us. لَعَلَّكَ بَاخِعٌ. The Prophet is in fact in deep grief for the ummah that they don't believe, that they don't want to do the right thing. The Imam is inviting us and telling us that you need to prepare for the meeting with the Lord. You need to get yourself there ready. You need to live in the presence of God. You need to live in a state that you see God present in your life, in everything. And that's how you can get to the level where you want these barriers to be removed. You want to be with God. And that's when one would be pleased with death. Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he says to Abu Dhar, he says, Ya Abu Dhar, in a longer wasiyah, is in part of it. He says, اعبد الله كأنك تراه. You worship God in a way that you can see Him. You don't see Him, He sees you. He is present. Recognize the presence of God in your life. Imam Ali alayhi salam is asked, do you see your God? He says, would I worship a God that I cannot see? So the person was confused, do you really see God? The Imam says to him, Wayhak, what is wrong with you? Yes, I can never see Him with the eyes, but my heart sees His presence. I have no doubts of the presence of God. This is the yaqeen that the Imam is speaking about. And this is how we should live. Our problem is most of us have some level of shirk. We come back, and this is not my statement, Quran says that. وَمَا يُؤْمِنُ أَكْثَرُهُم بِاللَّهِ. Most of them that they believe in God, they have some level of shirk, of polytheism, of ascribing partners for God, of basically not realizing that God is there, God is everywhere. We live in a state of faith but no faith. How so? Because most of us, we make our decisions in life as if God is not there. We say that we believe in God, we say that God is watching, we say that God is everywhere, we say that God is closer to us, Quran tells us, than ourselves to ourselves. يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Some often use the ayah that says أَقْرَبُ إِلَيْهِ مِنْ حَبْلِ الْوَرِيدِ, the jugular vein. The other one is actually deeper, only if we understand. يَحُولُ بَيْنَ الْمَرْءِ وَقَلْبِهِ. Subhanallah. That we cannot explain. Between you and your heart. Not the physical heart. In other words, between the heart in the Quran refers to the self, to yourself. Between you and you, God is there. Subhanallah. The only problem is many of us don't see Him, don't recognize Him there. Imam salawatullah wa salamu alayhi wants you to recognize Him there. He wants you to live in a way that God is present. Therefore you see watan with God. Muwattinan ala liqa'illahi. You see yourself in a state that all that is between you and God is a body, is this life, is this dunya. As soon as it's over, I will be with God. And this is why Anbiya'ullah, they were waiting for it. And when they knew that their mission is completed, there's nothing more they could do in terms of the mission of inviting people to God, they asked for it. In the hadith we are told Nabiullah Ibrahim said, ask the angel, take me. There is a conversation that happened for you and I to understand initially. That would a Khalil take the life of his Khalil, and then God says to him, would a Khalil not want the meeting with his Khalil, with his beloved? Then he says, take me. Let me meet my lover, my beloved, my Lord. If we get to a level that we live in the presence of God, we recognize that, then it would not make a difference whether we're living or we depart this world. We just know our responsibility, our duty. As long as I'm alive, this is what God wants from me, I will do it. That's all that matters. And if my mission is over and He takes me, then be it. This is what Ali al-Akbar says to his father when the Imam told him about the fact that they're walking and death is what? They were on a journey. He's saying that we're walking and death is walking with us, coming with us. He says, yeah, my father, my dear father, أَوَلَسْنَا عَلَى الْحَقِّ? Are we not on the right path? He said, yes, we are. He said, then what does it matter whether we go to death or death comes to us? Either way. Whether we walk to death or death walks to us. It doesn't matter to awliyaullah, to awlad al-Hussein that we say the salam to ashab al-Hussein that we say the salam to. It wouldn't matter. Tonight, I want us to remember a lady. In Islam, ladies do not have the responsibility of fighting. That is being removed from them. And so oftentimes the physical martyrdom, to be martyred in a battlefield, oftentimes that is not available to them. Though it happened, some of them were martyred, some of them were killed by the enemy, but that is not readily available to them as much as it is to men, that shahada in that sense. And we know the hadith is very clear that they could reach higher or the highest levels, being good mothers, being good wives, preparing the next generation. This is often misunderstood, this concept. We think this is the most important part is leadership, the Imam. The most important role is the Imam, the Prophet himself, the Imam himself. The most important role is the one who fought and one who was killed on the battlefield. We don't realize that behind every one of those was a great mother, a great wife, a great lady that made them. In some cultures tonight they remember one of the wives of Imam Ali alayhi salam, al-Baneen, Salamullah alayha. Tonight I want to speak of the living in presence, living recognizing God in their life, in every decision they make. An example, al-Baneen. She created the martyrs. Yes, she did not go to Karbala. Yes, she did not fight in Karbala. That is removed from them. That is not their responsibility. But she lived her life. Every woman's or every girl's dream is to be married to what? Prince Charming? The most courageous, the most handsome, the strongest, whatever you want to, all the good characteristics. All of that was available to her in Imam Ali alayhi salam. All of that. When the Imam asked for her hand and wanted to marry her, the Imam was in a position where yes, some denied it, but the Ummah recognized him. Even the enemies, even those who took his right of Khilafah, they said the most knowledgeable is Ali. Without Ali, we would be perished. He had a position, undeniable position of authority, and she had it all, marrying Imam Ali alayhi salam. She could have acted like some who the earth cannot contain them. You know, they become big-headed and so on. Now I'm the wife of Ali. Instead, according to traditions, she said to him, her name is Fatima, by the way. She asked that he does not call her Fatima and give her a title that her grandmother had. A title that her grandmother had for having, you know, boys after one after the other. Her grandmother was given the title Banin. She said to him, name me Banin. This is what they used to, in fact, perhaps her family used to joke that maybe you will take after your grandmother and so on. Don't call me Fatima. Why? I don't want the children of Fatima to remember their mother. She didn't see herself. This is sacrifice. You know, I am now in that position. Instead, she is training her children then she had children. Yes, subhanallah, she had the boys, one after the other. Did not think to herself that now I have children with Ali, the son of Abi Talib. It is not a normal thing for that society. From Bani Hashim, the son of Abu Talib, Ali ibn Abi Talib, Amir al-Mu'mineen. Instead, she is teaching her children, be careful, these are the children of Fatima. You serve them. You make sure that they come first. They are the children of the daughter of the Prophet. Who would do that? Let us think about it ourselves. You know, talk is cheap, but let us think about it. Put ourselves in that position. Consider yourself. Make yourself this. You know, the second level in importance. For what? For the sake of God, because she knows that is Fatima bintu Rasulillah. Sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa alihi. She knows that is Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen, and these are Sayyida Shabab Ahl al-Jannah. She sees that, therefore she treats herself, you know, as treating. Oftentimes we are the center of the universe. This is where jealousy comes from, by the way. A lot of diseases of the heart is because we are self-centered. We're the center. Everything is around us. He was nice to me. He was rude to me. We assess people based on me. Fatima Banin, salamullah alayha, she makes herself secondary. The primary is Fatima bintu Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa alihi wa sallam. Allahumma salli. The children of Fatima, they are the primary. She becomes secondary. That is for what? For the sake of God. And therefore Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala raises her. Whoever sacrifices and is sincere for the sake of God, God raises them. She is raised to a position where she has in Baqiyah. Those of you who have gone to Hajj and Ziyarah of Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in Medina, there's the graveyard of Baqiyah, where the Imams of Ahlul Bayt are there. There's a grave for her and recommendation of Ziyarah, special Ziyarah for her. Her name is there. Her wafat, she is remembered. Her children. Every year when it comes to the programs of Muharram, we cannot have Muharram without Banin. Salamullah alayhi. And her children are there. Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas is there. He was the one, he had, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, when He wants to raise, He gained a status where he became next to Imam Hussein alayhi salam, the son of Fatima. He becomes next to him. He gets that status. To the point that he becomes to Imam Hussein like Imam Ali alayhi salam was to Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam. This is through the sacrifices of this mother. She trained them well, and they went. Sallallahu alayka ya Aba Abdullah. Sallallahu alayka ya ibn Rasulillah ya rahmatallah al-wasi'a wa ya bab najat al-ummah. غريب يا مظلوم كربلاء سيدي يا ليتنا كنا معكم فنفوز فوزا عظيما. On the day of Ashura, Abu al-Fadl al-Abbas made sure every one of his brothers, his younger brothers, they go out and sacrifice their lives for the Imam of their time, for Imam Hussein alayhi salam. Until there were no brothers, no helpers, nobody. He stayed there defending the Imam until he was the last one with the Imam. Seeking some water, he sacrificed his life for the children of the Imam, defending his Imam. Some say, why is it that Abu al-Fadl did not go first from his brothers? Perhaps he wanted to make himself in the position of the Imam. The Imam is witnessing his children and brothers martyred. Abu al-Fadl wants to feel the pain. Just like when he grabbed the water, when he had the opportunity to drink, thirsty after a battle, fighting with those enemies, he is having the water in his hand, a perfect opportunity to quench his thirst. He says, Ya nafsu min ba'd al-Husayn huni wa ba'dahu la kunti an takuni. He talks to himself. He says, how dare you think of water while your master Hussein is thirsty. This is how they were trained. When the caravan of the Imam came back to Medina after all of them were martyred, after they had been to Sham. They arrived in Medina. Al-Banin is waiting for the news. She comes out. She asked, what happened? Where are the children? Where is the master, Abu Abdullah? when she is told of the martyr of her own children, she says, what about the Master Hussein? يا أبا عبد الله. لا تدعوني ويك أم البنين. Do not call me البنين anymore. You remind me of the lions that fought for their Imam. I had banin, I had boys. I was called al-Banin because of them. Now I don't have any of them. كانت بنون لي أدعى بهم واليوم أصبحت ولا من بنين أربعة مثل نسور الربا قد واصى الموت بقطع الوتين. 4 of them fought until they were beheaded. Then she says, يا ليت شعري كما أخبروا بأن عباسا قطيع اليمين. Is it true that my son Abbas had his hands cut off while he was fighting? إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. Color ما شاء الله together. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. مصيبة الطف في عينيك ترتسم وفي فؤادك نار الحزن تضطرم. أم البنين رعاك الله صابرة لما أصابك
وهو الحادث الضخم. أبناؤك الغر راحوا بالطفوف وما سألت هل قتلوا فيها وهل سلموا، ومذ أتى بشر ينعاهم فما فتأت على شفاهك خوفا تعثر الكلم. ألا أصيب حسين فالبنون فداء، ألا أصيب حسين فالبنون فداء لابن الرسول، فقد أودع بي الألم. ومذ علمت بقتل السبط فاض دم، وقد فاض دم من مقلتيك على الخدين ينسجم. وصحت ويلاه فقد الصبط أثقلني، وصحت ويلاه فقد الصبط يذكلني. فيا عماد ظهري اليوم منقصم، يا لواه علي من تلوحي تقول البكي والنوح لحسين، احنا امهات اولاد حيين، وعن نوح بنها فاطمه وعن نوح بين فاطمه وين إلها العزة واحنا المعزين. أنا الفاجد 2 و2 محاريب 5 أمد كل حين عليهن أرش بدمعة العين، وعليهن أرش بدمعة العين. منها 4 أمحي بليدي، والخامس مخليت للحزين. أم البنين ورزق قلبك مدمع، ندیدم سر بلند و سرافرازی را مگر اینکه بدیدم محضر ام البنین خم گردن او را. چنان مشکل گشا باب الحوائج کاشف الکرب است، گرفتند اولیاء الله عالم دامن او را. امیر المؤمنین همسر ابو فاضل پسر به به بنازم این مقام و جاه و شأن احسن او را. چنان جانسوز مرسی میان کوچه سر میداد، که میدیدند مردم گریه های دشمن او را. به او گفتند عباست صدا میزد حسینم کو، نشانش داد زینب پاره پیراهن او را. اگر چیزی جز این میماند از عباس میدادند، فقط دادند دستش تکه تکه جوشن او را. عمود آهنین تیر سه شعبه، نه نه اینها نه، فقط شرم از رباب انداخت بین خونتن او را. رباب از در که می آمد دل ام البنین می ریخت، غم لالاییش می برد بالا شیون او را. انا لله و انا الیه راجعون. صلوا على محمد و آل محمد. يا حسين ومصابه، اخوان تقدموا رجاء. يا حسين ومصابه، يا حسين ومصابه، ويا حسين ومصابه. بارك الله بكم. ولجل العين سجابه، وزينب تيوين وتنادي وخويا ويا روحي الهادي، يا حسين ومصابه. وليلة الرابع من محرم تبدي، يا حسين ومصابه. وأم البنين تقول عزمة عندي، يا حسين ومصابه. واتشرف ولأجلك أقدم ولدي، يا حسين ومصابه. وتكتب دموعي من تصب بخدي، يا حسين ومصابه. وأمك ولا تتركني يا ابني لوحدي، يا حسين ومصابه. ويموت الودع أحبابه، يا حسين ومصابه. ويا حسين ومصابه، يا حسين ومصابه. اسمعوا يا جزاك الله خير، جزاك الله خير. يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين. حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين، حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين. مولاي يا حسين، مولاي يا حسين، صوتك. مولاي يا حسين، مولاي يا حسين، مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين مولاي يا حسين ارفع يدك مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين من قبل السفر أنا والقمر من قبل السفر أنا والقمر قعدنا وبكينا وقلت له وصيتي قعدنا وبكينا وقلت له وصيتي تدري شيبت برباك تعبت تدري شيبت برباك تعبت واريدك تجازي تعبي وشبتي واريدك تجازي تعبي وشبتي دين الربا وشانك توفي بدينك دين الربا وشانك توفي بدينك كل لحظة ريد تبوس كف حسينك كل لحظة ريد تبوس كف حسينك يما الأخو يسمونه بالضج حزام يا حزام ظهر حسين في دول عينك يا حزام ظهر حسين في دول عينك واحفظ كلمتين زينب والحسين واحفظ كلمتين زينب والحسين حان الوفا التعب السهر يا حبيبي يا مولا حسين يا مولا حسين يا مولا حسين يا مولا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين مولاي يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين أنا من الزغر سميتك بدور أنا من الزغر سميتك بدور سماهم تضوي بدروب الضعن بسماهم تضوي بدروب الضعن لحسين الكبير خادم يما صير لحسين الكبير خادم يما صير وقفتك كبيرة يسجلها الزمن وقفتك كبيرة يسجلها الزمن يلبيك من دم حيدر ومن دمي يلبيك من دم حيدر ومن دمي
بيض لي وجهي بوقفتك يا النشمي، مو باسمي باكر بالقيامة يصيحون. خادم الزهرة يا محلات اسمي، خادم الزهرة يا محلات اسمي، يما نريد انهى الاسم ابو فاضل والنعيم. عينك على اثنين، عينك على اثنين، زينب والحسين. حان الوفا تعب السهر، حان الوفا تعب السهر. يا مولا يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين، حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين. أنا من الزغر سميتك بدور، أنا من الزغر سميتك بدور، بسماهم تضوي بدروب الضعن، بسماهم تضوي بدروب الضعن. لحسين الكبير خادم يوم مصير، لحسين الكبير خادم يوم مصير. وقفتك كبيرة يسجلها الزمان، وقفتك كبيرة يسجلها الزمان. يلبيك من دم حيدر ومن دمي، بيض لي وجهي بوقفتك يا النشمي، مو باسمي باكر بالقيامة يصيحون. خادم الزهرة يا محلات اسمي، يما نريد انهى الاسم، يما نريد انهى الاسم. ابو فاضل والنعيم، ابو فاضل والنعيم. عينك على اثنين، زينب والحسين، عينك على اثنين، زينب والحسين. حان الوفا تعب السهر، حان الوفا تعب السهر. يا مولا يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين، حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين. بالك يا ابن ابوك، بالك يا ابن ابوك تسحق ظل اخوك، بالك يا ابن ابوك تسحق ظل اخوك. خيال تشوفه من عرش السماء، وخيال تشوفه من عرش السماء. من تمشي وراه، من تمشي وراه تبرك من ثرى، من تمشي وراه تبرك من ثرى. ترى حسين يا يمه ريحة فاطمة، ترى حسين يا يمه ريحة فاطمة. انت واخوتك في خيم صيروا له، انت واخوتك في خيم صيروا له. والله خلقنا الخاطر قلوا له، حتى الهوى يخنقل مشى عنا حسين. شلون اصبر على فراقه فدوى الطوله، شلون اصبر على فراقه فدوى الطوله. عباس احسب خطوتك، اختك واخوك بذمتك. عباس احسب خطوتك، اختك واخوك بذمتك. كل واحد بعين، زينب والحسين كل واحد بعين، زينب والحسين. حان الوفا تعب السهر، حان الوفا تعب السهر. يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين. حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين، حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين. يما ادنا لي يوم ودنا لي اسمع ما يلي، يوم ودنا لي اسمع ما يلي، أمانة برقبتك زينب بنت علي، أمانة برقبتك زينب بنت علي. يوم ودنا لي اسمع ما يلي، يوم ودنا لي اسمع ما يلي، أمانة برقبتك زينب بنت علي، أمانة برقبتك زينب بنت علي. هي والخيم، هي والخيم حجبها بعلم، هي والخيم حجبها بعلم، إذا طلبت الغيم قلها تدللي، إذا طلبت الغيم قلها تدللي، وإذا طلبت الغيم وهنا يا عباس الحكي وياك يطول عن خدر زينب يوم وانت المسؤول، وهنا يا عباس الحكي وياك يطول عن خدر زينب يوم وانت المسؤول. ما ريد طلها يمر على عيون القاع، مربيتك اختك هيج قلهم وتقول، مربيتك اختك هيج قلهم وتقول، زينب يا شيال اللوى خليها بعيونك ضوى، زينب يا شيال اللوى خليها بعيونك ضوى، وبرقبتك دين زينب والحسين، وبرقبتك دين زينب والحسين. حان الوفل تعب السهر، حان الوفل تعب السهر، يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين، يا مولا حسين، حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين، حبيبي ونور العين يا حسين. من ثرى الطف إلى أرض البقيع، من ثرى الطف إلى أرض البقيع، سلم العباس بالكف القطيع، سلم العباس بالكف القطيع. من هنا من هنا من هنا نادى صراخ للضريع، من هنا نادى صراخ للرضيع، وجميع الناس صاحت بالحنين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين. زينب في الشام بالحزن الثقيل، زينب بالشام بالحزن الثقيل، تسأل الناس على عين الكفيل، تسأل الناس على عين الكفيل، ولك قد حفظت هذا الجميل، ولك قد حفظت هذا الجميل، ولها صوت يدوي في السنين، السلام عليك يا السلام عليك يا أم البنين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين. ذكرك قد صار عنوان الوفاء، ذكرك قد صار عنوان الوفاء، ولك تجهد بالفضل السماء، ولك تجهد بالفضل السماء. وإذا نحن ذكرنا كربلاء، وإذا نحن ذكرنا كربلاء، أشرقت ذكراك من ذكرى الحسين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين. من هنا يصدح صوت المؤمنين، من هنا يصدح صوت المؤمنين، سائلا عن قبر أم الطاهرين، سائلا عن قبر أم الطاهرين، من بها يكشف هم القاصدين، من بها يكشف هم القاصدين. أم عباس لنا نعم المعين، أم عباس لنا نعم المعين، السلام عليك يا أم البنين، 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 السلام عليك يا أم البنين. حسين Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. A prophet saw in his dream, O Ibrahim, give back to us your son. And when he looked in those eyes, his son replied, God's decree must be done. And when he looked in those eyes, his son replied, God's decree must be done. The holy blood that was saved, soon Hussein gave the world's greatest sacrifice. In Karbala came a flood of Muhammad's blood from rivers in paradise. In Karbala came a flood of Muhammad's blood with rivers in paradise. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. The river flows closely by, but his throat is dry. Akbar goes out to fight. Within Hussein flows a sea of agony. He couldn't help but cry. Within Hussein flows a sea of agony. He couldn't help but cry. Hussein, your joy is my joy, your grief is my grief, that's why I'm in such pain. The greatest son ever had was stabbed and stabbed out in the desert plain. The greatest son ever had was stabbed and stabbed out in the desert plain. My heart rained blood on that day. He rode away Muhammad's flesh and air. The Lord you serve must be great, for what you gave was simply beyond compare. The Lord you serve must be great, for what you gave was simply beyond compare. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar Ya Hussein. His baby can no longer cry and will shortly die. Water is all he needs. His little frame shakes with thirst. I fear the worst, I'm bringing him at your feet. His little frame shakes with thirst. I fear the worst, I'm laying him at your feet. An arrow pierced the baby's throat and made him choke. None of this can be stopped. Now Hussein's hands stained in red. His son is dead. How will you tell Robab? Now Hussein's hands stained in red. His son is dead. How will you tell Robab? Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Oh Muslims, I can't believe that all this grief afflicted the Prophet's son. Akbar, Abbas, and Qasim, yes, all of them, Hussein had lost everyone. Akbar, Abbas, and Qasim, yes, all of them, Hussein had lost everyone. Perfection and sacrifice, bought at a price like no one had ever saw. The sands are filled with regret, for they are wet the blood of Rasulullah. The sands are filled with regret, for they are wet the blood of Rasulullah. The Prophet's way Hussein saved. With the blood he gave the world's greatest sacrifice. The martyr's chief would invite souls to take flight to rivers in paradise. The martyr's chief would invite souls to take flight to rivers in paradise. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar. Allahu Akbar ya Hussein.
السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين. السلام عليك يا سيدي ويا مولاي يا صاحب العصر والزمان. عظم الله لك الأجر يا صاحب الزمان. أجل الله تعالى فرجك وسهل مخرجك وجعلنا من أعوانك وأنصارك. اللهم كن لوليك صلواتك عليه والمؤمنات يا الله. اللهم شاف المرضى المنظورين يا الله. اللهم ارحم موتى المؤمنين والمؤمنات يا الله. موتى الحاضرين موتى البادئين المؤسسين لهذا المجلس الحاضر موتانا وموتاكم جميعا إلى موتى الحاضرين إلى أرواحهم جميعا رحم الله من قرأ السورة المباركة الفاتحة حقها صلوات.